Hello again. So the last stream got interrupted. I'm sorry for that. My internet got cut off. But now that we're back, let's just continue where we stopped. So we were at MLN and we were zooming in to see which is the zoom in time frame. And as you can see now, we move to the 4-hour time frame here. And there you can see that this start aligns with it, and we have a clear stochastic wave. And now the next step would be to try and look for a re-entry, because as I mentioned before in yesterday's stream and before that, I always try to add to my watch list, or to add to the top of my watch list, the top gainers and top losers, because these are the volatile ones, and then these are potential trades in the near future, whether it's a re-entry for the correction bottom, or whether we look for a short position. So the next thing to do now here is simply to mark the start of the last wave. Okay, you should know this process by heart now. So we're marking this one with the dotted line, and then we zoom in again to the 24-minute time frame. And one thing you can see here is that this is not aligning with the top. So in order to make this better, we should align it to the top, and then we should change the time frame to have this part here showing as a red highlight, not just a divergence, which is safer to do. And usually do that by either zooming out or zooming in. So for example, if we zoom out to the 36-minute time frame, you can see that this here, all of it is one wave down as well. So actually we need to zoom in, not out, so we can start to zoom in until we have what I described before. But the problem with this one is it's not clear, and in order to reach one that is clear, you need to go to a very low time frame, which is the 5 minutes. So this is not really ideal to me, although actually you can see this is looking like a stochastic wave reversal. Let me just show you why. Let's try to find an angle for this one. Okay, it's not ideal, but let's just, for the sake of case studies, just take a look at it and how we could use the MTF for the benefit of re-entering this one. Okay, so when I look at something like that, usually what I do is I try first and set my fib retracement tool to the top, and as you can see, we already tapped to the 0.618, which is a relevant fib level, and we have this looking somehow like this curve here. So we have this, and when we try and find ourselves something on this one, I don't know, not the usual one for me. Like, I wouldn't long it. Even if I would long it, I would just have to set my stop loss below this current level here, but I wouldn't long it. It's not that neat for me. So what I would do is I would simply wait. I would wait and I would set this back like we did before. We were at the 36-minute time frame. So let's go to a time frame that shows the peak where it should be. So let's just go to something like the 36. Okay, so the 36 time frame. What I would do here, I would simply wait for this to make one tap up and then another tap down. So I would only be interested in reanalyzing this at this point here, and for that, since if I do an alert here at this level, it will already trigger because it's already there. So I'm gonna simply make an alert here, and at 80, which is the tap up, and I'm gonna simply write to myself, set an alert at tap down, okay, for the next tap down long possible entry. Okay, so now I have a reminder simply to set an alert. When this alert hits, I'm gonna set another alert for the tap down. And usually what I personally expect this to do now here is simply that this is gonna bounce up and then back down somewhere, and then maybe we get an entry. But this current bounce up, which I don't know how big it's gonna be, is not one I can enter based on the MTF alone. Maybe based on wave counting or other analysis. Like for example, if I would only count on this pattern here, I would say it already broke up, and that it's probably gonna go up from here and then continue, okay, in some way or another. But I like to have always a second confirmation based on the MTF, and since I'm not seeing an entry here, I'm just simply gonna neglect this one. And if you would want to count this, there's several ways to count this as a correction in terms of Elliott waves. You could either just call this an A, B, and then C 1, 2, 3, 4, and then somewhere here is a 5. Or you could consider this like something like an extended A, maybe. I'm not like an A, all of it, and then we get a B and then a C. So in that case we would have to see 5 waves here. So 1, 2, sorry, 3 3 should be down here, and then 4 somewhere, and then 5 for the A. That's also another way to look at it. Another way to look at it is this is a truncated fifth, this top here, so you just start counting there. So again, I'm mainly looking at the MTF, so I'm simply gonna neglect this one, and then I'm gonna move on to the next one, which is ZRO, which I already I think mentioned yesterday. And this one, I think we were talking about the relative time frame being the 2 hour, if I'm not mistaken. The 3 hour, I think. So we already said yesterday that this had this typical starter coin pattern where it just sells off and then bounces, sells off and then bounces, and each time the sell off slows down, and then it broke up. And what we had here is this fake down closed, and now for me it's in a it's not in a place to enter unless you are willing to look for a short. But even for that, like this is probably a wave 3, so we're looking at a wave 4, like, because this is now 1 and that's a 3, and somewhere here is gonna be a wave 4 and then wave 5. So I'm gonna be looking for a wave 5 entry, and for that I'm gonna set another alert on the MTF here for this one across as 15, and then I'm gonna write to myself wave 5 entry on the 3 hour tap down. Okay. If you want to zoom in to see where this peak is gonna end or this top is gonna end, then the relative time frame is the 18-minute time frame, because the time frame we were looking at was the 3 hour. And as you can see, it's not very neat. Usually probably it's gonna dump from here, but I wouldn't trade based on that, so I'm just gonna leave this where it is. Okay, I'm gonna only enter if I see a tap down on this time frame. Otherwise this is already gone, not much I can do about it. So the next one to look at is Bonk. and for bonk I need to zoom out first because we haven't looked at it together before. So I'm gonna zoom out here, and I'm gonna start by identifying the last wave on the 10-day. Then I'm gonna zoom in on the 1-day, and as you can see here we had this breakup from this downtrend that we had here. So we had here this downtrend and then we broke up. So now in order to find us an entry, we have to mark the start of that last wave, which is this wave here, and then we need to zoom in on the 4 hour, for example, so, or even a bigger time frame. Let's just go to the 6 hour, and as you can see this is now on a top, so it's not wise to short it. You could short it, like if I'm on my own, probably I can try and time an entry, but but it's not really diverging or curving down like it should, so we're not gonna do anything about it. I'm gonna simply write to myself here an alert: crossing 20 bonk 6 hour tap down, possible long entry. Okay, and I'm gonna move this up on my watch list, and then I'm gonna move on to the next one, which is TRU. And on TRU I'm gonna zoom out and to try and make a sense of which waves we're looking at. So the last wave down is this one, which is this current one that we mark here. Okay, and then when we zoom in, let's just go to the 1-day. You can see here that this had this gap, this fake up here. Okay, and then the gap closed down here and then started moving. Usually this is an entry, like not here, but when the gap closes, usually it's a good entry, at least for a bounce, not necessarily for a reversal, but even when you like go here, sorry I marked the wrong. So now for a re-entry, what you should be doing is you should mark the start of this current wave here, and then when you mark it actually, and then you go to the 3 hour and 2 hour time frame, you see this being in need of faking down before it goes back up. Okay, so where could we expect this to happen? We could expect this to happen, let me just first check the volume on true before I make any. Yeah, the volume is 10 million on the daily, so it's actually not that bad. So what you should be looking at is somewhere a retrace somewhere safely on the 0.5 or 0.618, and at the same time we have here like this support here. Okay, so we have confluence at this zone, and now we should set our alert like we usually do at 20, and then call TRU tap down to our 1-day potential long, and then we set the alert. And we could also add an alert here where we just set a price alert when it crosses here to know. Okay, if you wanted to somehow time, like, no, it's not that safe. This is gonna probably squeeze up before it goes back down, so I'm not gonna do anything else to this one. And then moving on to ASTR. what you can see here when we start again by zooming out to the 10-day, we had this sell-off, and now we are looking for two things. First, we're looking at identifying whether this is a reversal, a true reversal or not. So when you zoom in on the 1 day, it looks like not really. Yeah, the 3 day is actually gonna be better to look at, or the 2 day. So even if we are counting that this is the reversal, we should not enter when the gap is so big. So we should wait for gap close. So we should just add an alert here. Again 20, and then ASTR. Okay. And if you still wanna try and get on this, it's not much you can do. You should just wait. So let's just move on to the top losers of today. Doesn't seem like we have opened any possibilities yet, so let's move on to DOC. Okay. This is not looking good. Not a chart I would be interested in having to do anything with it, because usually when something keeps bleeding like that, it's not a healthy bleed. But as you can see, it was faking upwards on the MTF, so we can just use this as a case study of how this could have been shorted based on the MTF, because you can see here on the 2 day we had this fake up, and if you would zoom in on the 4 hour, you can see that this could have been entered like here as a confirmation, because this is the shape of an ideal stochastic RSI reversal. And when you look at this, you can see here that this gave you this entry at the end. When you compare this ideal shape to the current one, you can see that we had this short entry that was possible here, and even when you look at larger time frames, perhaps you're gonna see it more neatly. So the 6 hours still gave it up. Okay, so this is not something I'm gonna be interested in having to do anything with. So let's move on. Next one is CVP. And CVP is looking very similar, I'm guessing, or actually a bit different, because it didn't have this fake up. I wouldn't touch this one. Why wouldn't I touch this one? Because when you look at the same time frame that we were looking at, because they're kind of moving together, you see this current MTF wave here that is at the drop down phase. So I would either would I just short it at the next step up. So when I just set this at 80, and then just possible CVP short entry, tap up 8 hour 6 hour, I'm sorry. And actually I'm gonna do the same to the last one, which was DOC. So I'm gonna go back to DOC, and there I'm just gonna set this same alert here, crossing, and then I'm gonna just write to myself DOC possible short 6 hour tap up. Okay, and set it at 80. Okay, so just one check. at CVP. Okay, the alert is set in the right way. Now moving on to the next one, which is CTXC. What we're gonna see here is the same. So these, I'm not sure if these are coins that are going to get delisted, but it's worth looking into because they're actually looking very similar to each other. So I'm just gonna look for a re-entry on this short here, and I'm gonna write to myself same CTXC short tap up 6 of C TXC. Okay, and now moving on to the next one, which is hard. I'm betting it's gonna be looking exactly the same. Actually, it's a bit different, but I'm not gonna touch these because these dropped out of nowhere. There must be some reason for that out of TA. Okay, so now I finished looking at the ones of Binance. So I'm gonna simply do my own scan on the MTF screener that I showed you yesterday. Okay, I need you just to give me a minute to fix this. Give me a second. Yeah, I fixed it. Okay. So let me just open the chart again for you. Yeah, so let's go to the time frames that we were looking at. So for example, the 3 hour, and from there we're gonna scan the market quickly together. So first here we start by looking at if anything is standing out. Most coins are like tapping down, but not that neatly. Nothing's still looking interesting when I'm moving. At least not on that time frame. The one thing that catches my eye here is Cake, because it looks like it's dropping down, and then it had like a failed fake down. So let's just take a quick look. And when you look at this one, you're gonna find this looking like it's gonna drop. Not much to go on from. Gonna just leave it at that. And then moving on. Okay, let's just change the time frame, but first we finish here. Okay. So let's change the time frame. Let's start by looking at a larger time frame here to see if we have coins that are actually on a cycle of their own, because now, as you can see, most of the coins have this fake up like Bitcoin on the 2-day, and now you can spot which coins are looking totally different. Like for example, you have here all these looking more or less the same, but then you have something like curve that closed the gap. And let's just take a look at curve 2-day time frame. I already discussed this yesterday, but here the gap closed. It didn't reach the level of the alert yet, but nothing to be seen here. So let's go back, continue, and then you have RPL having a different kind of 2-day. So let's just check this one as well. And there, this is probably gonna be looking better on the 3-day, and from there we can mark the last wave down and then zoom on the 6-hour and then set ourselves here an alert crossing RPL possible long 6-hour 3-day, tap down, and then we set it at 20, and then moving forward we should be continuing our search. And as you can see here, what's standing out is GMT of having this wide 2-day fake up, and we already discussed this yesterday, and let me just take you back to it because I wanted to show you something. So yesterday what happened here is I described to you how I would enter this one, and I actually shorted it where I placed this with a very tight stop loss. I shorted this peak here. I applied the zoom in method for it, and I actually took profit somewhere below. I took profit somewhere here. Okay, it was a decent trade for me. Now I'm gonna be looking for a re-entry when the 4-hour taps back up, so I'm gonna just add an alert here for crossing 80, check for possible GMT short re-entry. Okay, and as well as the 6-hour, but 6-hour I'm gonna set the alert crossing 90. Okay, GMT possible re-short 8 6-hour tap up. Okay, so this is something I'm gonna be looking at for a possible short entry. Why am I so persistent to re-short this? Because as I said yesterday, this 2-day is looking very ugly, and not only so, but when you see that like the inclination of gray and blue, like this one still looking like that, and this one is almost starting to look slightly down. So when that happens, the pull down is gonna be very ugly. So this is worth having your eye on it. So going back now, after just continuing here, we have ourselves another one that is currently doing a separate thing, which is LDO here. So when we look at it, this is let me just erase these old drawings. This is looking like it's actually gonna start reversing upwards, but in order to make a definitive analysis for it, we need to zoom out. So on the 20-day time frame here, we can see that this is the last wave, and when you zoom in to the 2-day time frame here, what you can see is something that looks like this. So let me just show you again for those who are not able to memorize how this stochastic wave should look like. This is how it should look like. So you can see here that when you mark the start of that one, it looks like this wave, and it looks like it had these two entries here, and now we're somewhere here. So for that reason I would be simply zooming in on this one and waiting for a tap down. Okay, so I'm just gonna add this alert here, crossing 20, and write to myself LDO possible long for tap down on 4-hour time frame, and then add 2-day as well. Okay, so this one is set for me. Moving forward on the scanner, we have ourselves two interesting coins. We have sushi. Reason why sushi for me looks a bit different than the rest is because it's wide, not just large gap but wide gap, and then ape looks like it started dropping. Same for ZIL. So let's start with ape. Yeah, exactly. So it's very interesting how you can deduct so much just from the MTF. Okay, so this one looks like a wave that started dropping, and then when you mark the start of that fake up, and then you zoom into the 4-hour, you have yourself this very clear wave here that is looking like that. This, okay. So ideally you would want to look for a possible short entry, and for that you need gray to tap up back like that, and to examine if you can enter at this point. So probably this is gonna do something like that, and then it's gonna drop further down somewhere like here. And it's also nice that you can set yourself like a trend line for looking for a stop loss whenever this happens. So I'm gonna simply add an alert for crossing ape, possible short 4-hour 2-day tap up. Okay, and then we had also ZIL, probably gonna be looking Zilliqa, probably gonna be looking the same, exactly the same, also adding this time frame, this alert I mean. ZIL 4-hour 2-day possible short, and add 80. Okay, also to make sure I'm not mistaken, 2-day is looking the same. So should be moving these ones upwards because on my watch list, because I want to make sure to keep an eye on them. So this was Zilliqa, and then the next one is gonna be, I'm still moving Zilliqa upwards on my watch list. So I have Zilliqa and we had ape, and I'm gonna mark them red on the watch list so I can make sure I understand that these are possible shorts. Give me a second. So I have Zilliqa, and we have also GMT still in play, and we had sushi. So let's check sushi. Probably gonna be looking the same, exactly. So sushi in need of a 4-hour tap up, but this one is not curving down the same as them. So this probably is gonna be squeezing up. It's gonna intrigue you. It's gonna be squeezing up, and then it's gonna get a blow off top kind of rejection. So this one is gonna be more tricky to short, and just right here sushi here, possible 4-hour 2-day short. Okay, and then moving on. Okay, so that's it. We have here something also that looks like a gear up, which is CVX. I don't know why we missed it the first time I mean. CVX. So CVX here, this one is having this kind of fake down. So I would want to wait for this fake down to be looking like going lower, so I'm gonna set it at 10 CVX, gear up, fake down, 2-day. Okay, I'm gonna set it at 10 and forget it. Okay, why? Because also this has this consolidation floor here, and you know, when we see a fake down with a consolidation floor, it's very tempting to just long this with a tight stop loss. Hopefully we can do it tighter when the time comes, and then could be very profitable, but it will take some time, I think, to get there, unless we can find something convincing that this is the moment. Could be it, could be not be it, depending on if you can afford to try a trade here. Then maybe you can just enter this like that or like that, and then aim for the recent high. Okay, so that's one way to do it. And then moving back, let's move to another screener group. So here what you can see is, let's go to the 2-day time frame, and you can see similar to what was before, so I'm not gonna be repeating it. We have enough trades to look at, unless I see something that's different. Let me just examine this ONG and take a look at the 2-day. Set this, go to the 4-hour, looking similar. 6-hour, this is probably gonna drop from here. Yeah, this is probably going to just roll over, something like that. Gonna have to reinvestigate this later. I just don't like to look at things that have this extreme low volume. This is just at 1 million at Binance, not ideal. When I zoom in on the 36-minute time frame, not showing me much, so just gonna neglect this one. Move on. Okay, I'm not gonna look further. I'm just gonna check out one particular time frame, which is the 1-day on the last group, out of curiosity, to see if I'm missing something. And I'm gonna just hover over it quickly, see if something is faking down or showing me anything. Like, look at this one, for example, Uni. Okay, USDT, go to the 1-day. Yeah, this could be just showing you that it has weakness. Let's go to the 10-day. Yeah, exactly. So here you had this showing it's gonna go down probably, and here you can see this is the last wave, and that wave here, when you zoom in, you're gonna find I don't like the fact that they are so short, because I would have preferred this to be a longer MTF wave. Okay, this is probably gonna go down, but not much to be done, my opinion, because when this is so short, usually it could still pull up, so it's very intriguing. I don't like to enter short ones. Moving on. We have FET faking down here, so going to FET. Marking the beginning of this one to analyze this wave down, then zooming in on the 2-day. Yeah, this one will be very interesting for me when this taps down. Okay, so I'm gonna set an alert here for when this taps down. 20 FET, possible long entry, 2-day, 20-day tap down. So create this alert here, move on. We have here maker, gonna look at it, but first move on, see if something else will show up. Okay, so maker, now this is an old trade I had, just gonna hide this. Day. Yeah, I'm gonna set an alert here on the crossing 20 again, and maker 2-day, 20-day tap down, possible long entry. Okay, so let me just take a look at Binance real quick, if we had anything move while we were doing this stream. Okay, today is a quiet day, but we know what the advantage of this analysis of today is simply to know what we're expecting and to set our alerts. So make sure to go over the video and set the alerts that I set on the MTF. If you don't have the MTF and you wanna start your MTF wave indicator package trial, make sure to join our Discord and ask for the trial. I can give you a 2 weeks trial. I can guide you how to use it and teach you how to use it before you buy it. And we've had cases where people actually made more money during the trial than the cost of the indicator itself. So make sure to check out our Discord. Make sure to, if you like this content, to like it. And if you want to support me, make sure please also to subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot, pushes my content, gives it more exposure. And comment below if you wanna give your opinion. Comment below, I really appreciate it. Okay, thank you guys, have a great evening. Thank you.